Let's have a look at before plugins. They are mainly used to modify the arguments that are passed to the plugin target method. Let's use the product repository interface method getById as an example. To cause our plugin method to be called before getById, we need to name it before getById. The first argument to any plugin method is always the class instance we are plugging into. So in our case, that would be the product repository interface. By convention, this first argument is called $subject. Let me import the class so the signature looks a bit nicer. After the subject, before plugins receive all the arguments of the target method. That makes sense since before plugins are mostly used to modify those arguments. That means we have to copy over the signature from the target class. So here getById receives a number of arguments, and I'll copy them over after $subject. Let me move them to its own line so it's PSR2 compliant. Okay. If an argument to the target class is optional, so here edit mode, store ID, and force reload, then those arguments have to be optional in the plugin signature as well. So before plugins are often used to modify one or more of these method arguments. To do so, before plugins can return an array with all the arguments that will be passed on to the original target method or the next plugin. So product ID, edit mode, store ID, force reload. And any of those can be modified. I want to set force reload to true, which probably is a bad idea, but it'll do nicely as an example on how to return a modified argument array. Now, sometimes before plugins are used to cause some other side effect and not to modify the arguments. In such cases, before plugins should return void or null. So I just tend to omit the return statement completely. Technically, it's the same as returning an array with the unmodified arguments, but not returning anything communicates the intent more clearly that in this case, the purpose of the before plugin is some side effect and not modifying the arguments. This is also stated in the Magento dev docs on plugins. So here we have the page on plugins, and here in before methods, it says if the method does not change the arguments for the observed method, it should return null. Well, or nothing at all. Now, to make it easier to see if our plugin works, let's make it do something. Let's just log the plugin execution. For this, we need access to the logger. So I'll add a constructor. All right. And now let's just add a message. Okay, now we need to clear the log directory, so it's easier to find our log message, flush the cache, and now let's reload the product detail page. And here it is. Congratulations, it's a working before plugin.